From the heartland of America and the gateway to the West, good morning, good evening, wherever you may be across the nation, around the world. I'm George Norrie. Welcome to Coast AM. Later tonight, we celebrate our 20 years doing Coast to Coast. You're invited to our anniversary party. Here's what's happening. A growing number of Russians have begun lashing out at its country's military leadership after dozens of Russian soldiers were killed in a strike against their position by Ukrainian forces. The Russian people are justifiably angry at the commanders and Moscow's leaders as their young men and boys are dying by the thousands in this war, says Rebecca Koffler, a former Defense Intelligence Agency officer and author of Putin's playbook, Russia's Secret Plan to Defeat America. Coming off several challenging years, Americans enter 2023 with a mostly gloomy outlook for the U.S. as majorities predict negative conditions in 12 of 13 economic, political, societal, and international arenas. Dr. John Curtis, onlinecolumnist.com, with us here. John, I would have thought they would have had a little more hopeful look at 2023.
Well, those resolutions and all those positive expectations are a bit gloomy. Well, first of all, New Year's does not mean that the U.S. stock market is on its way up into any kind of a bull market right now. In fact, a lot of people, and financial advisors of all different types really see a down market in 2023. That doesn't put people with 401ks and savings account in the best mood. The other thing is that, we are dealing with high inflation right now, and I think that there's a anxiety that a lot of people have about the economy. And with the big spending plans of our president, I don't think there's any real reason to believe that he's going to have an epiphany anytime soon. I mean, sure, you get Republicans right now are bickering, over who's going to become the next, House Speaker. But the truth of the matter is that, McCarthy's been in line for this for years. He tried in 2015 to, he was a little bit too young at that time and inexperienced to displace John Boehner, who, held on to his position. But no, House Speaker is perfect right now. They never have been. And I think, that a lot of the, folks on that Gallup poll see nothing but gridlock ahead. And, George, think about this. The Republicans who are behind the eight ball have taken the U.S. House of Representatives. That's an enormous accomplishment,
Huge.
Given that since 2018, the Republican Party, at least on a House level in districts, has been falling apart. So, the narrative, we have narratives out there. We have a propaganda-based news media that likes to just push fake narratives. The fake narrative was, that Trump did the party in, and they had such a poor result. Well, there's a number of Republicans on different sides, conservative, moderate, and even left-leaning, that are basically fed up with Trump. They don't want any part of him in the future. They want him to just go quietly into the night. Now, so McCarthy is seen kind of as a lapdog to Trump by some Republicans. So, he is the heir apparent, to this. There's 15 of them, he's got to get to 218 votes. He's, I think, 203 right now. But there's going to be a lot of pressure in these upcoming ballots starting tomorrow, again, with number 4, on these oppositional candidates to back McCarthy. And so there really is no other consensus candidate. And Steve Scalise, by the way, who's a decent sort of guy, and I think he would make a good House Speaker, actually, is really on the same page as McCarthy. So I don't see any real opposition except from, a group of renegades right now that are going to have to conform eventually because they want to push the Republican agenda. But as far as the outlook of most Americans. I think you'll note in that Gallup study that Democrats think more optimistically than Republicans. Well, that's because Biden is president and they're supporting his agenda. But we have a terrible problem on foreign policy with Biden and a war that just won't stop and probably will be going on until the 2024 election, if not longer, unless there's some major change. So I think the public at large has a right to be a little bit pessimistic.
And they are indeed. John's website, onlinecolumnist.com. The price of gold notched to a 6-month high, and analysts believe the rally has further to go in 2023. That's good news. John Truman Wolfe, #1 best-selling author and the publisher of the widely heralded financial newsletter Strategic Financial Intelligence. I guess this is some good news, isn't it, John?
Hi, George. Hey, Happy New Year to you. Yes, it is. It is good news. It's something that I think investors have been waiting for some time. Gold broke out of the 1,400 range a few years ago, shot up to $2,000 an ounce, and then settled back down to, the general $1,700 an ounce area, and is now in the last, week, 10 days, both gold and silver have started to move. If gold gets back up to its high of 2,000, it's going to break and run to the moon, George.
It's going to take off like a rocket ship. John, thank you very much, and continue good work into the new year. Bank robberies are becoming a thing of the past in cashless Denmark as the Nordic country recorded its first year of zero holdups in 2022. Criminals have found it no longer pays off to walk into bank branches in search of a big bag of crisp notes, as falling cash use in society has pushed banks to trim costs by pulling cash services from most branches. Interesting take there. Hawkeye actor Jeremy Renner is recovering from surgery after suffering blunt chest trauma and orthopedic injuries in a New Year's Day snow plowing accident in Nevada. Renner was in the intensive care unit in critical but stable condition. The 51-year-old actor has so far undergone 2 surgeries to address injuries he sustained in that accident. Our prayers go out to him. In a moment, pharmacist Ben Fuchs from criticalhealthnews.com joins us. Here's the website to go to. Let's set another record, criticalhealthnews.com. And you can download their free app as well. And then the toll-free number to call for assistance in case you miss anything that Ben says tonight, 1-855-949-7234. Up next, pharmacist Ben Fuchs. And welcome back to Coast. George Norrie with you. Pharmacist Ben Fuchs, registered pharmacist, nutritionist, cosmetic chemist, has been compounding custom medications for years. He is one of the spokespeople for criticalhealthnews.com. Along with Joel Wallach, Ben is with us every 6 weeks, along with Doc Wallach, as they rotate 3 weeks apiece. Ben, welcome to the program. Happy New Year, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and all the good stuff.
All the good stuff. 2023, that's a big number, George.
Do you find it for some people to be a letdown after the holidays? Because they're done. They're over now.
I know. I get sad, too. I love the holidays. And then all of a sudden it's over. But you know what? Next December is right around the corner.
It'll pop up fast.
Right, it goes by so fast.
I think 23 is going to be a generally pretty good year. How about
that?
you? Yeah.
You know, people are pessimistic. I was listening to the guy before me talk about that. There's a certain air of pessimism. But you know what? You kind of attract things based on your thoughts. You know that, George.
Absolutely.
So if you have a pessimistic attitude, things will happen pessimistically.
We've got emails coming in for you. We're going to take calls pretty soon, and we'll do calls next hour as well. And thank you for helping. Now, you along with Doc for helping people. I really appreciate it.
George, it's what it's all about. You know, I got to say, it's not all altruistic because I get a benefit from it, too. Number one, it feels good to help people. And number two, I make my life about learning how the body works. I get paid to study the body. I get paid to study nutrition. It's the most amazing thing that career that I've crafted to help people and to get paid for it.
How did you get interested in pharmaceutical work, first of all?
I was always fascinated by how molecules that you ingest in your body could change mental outlook. I studied something called psychopharmacology. I took a course in psychopharmacology when I got my journalism degree. You know, I have a journalism degree before I went to pharmacy school. And I was just fascinated by this idea that you could take these little tiny things called pills or drugs or medicines, and you could completely change your biochemistry, specifically your mental chemistry. And I just wanted to study how that worked, but I really wanted to study how food did it. And when I thought about how could I study how food could affect the mind and how food could affect the biochemistry, for some reason I just thought of pharmacy. And I'm glad I did, because as a pharmacist, I'm privy to information that even doctors don't have. That very pharmacists have a skill set that nobody in the pantheon of healthcare has. We understand how molecules that you ingest, whether you ingest them as foods, whether you ingest them as herbs, whether you ingest them as medications, how they change the body. And that is a powerful, powerful understanding.
And they change the body in a big way, too, don't they?
In a huge way, for better or for worse, George, for better or for worse. You know, every time you eat, your body goes into an inflammatory and an immune-activated mode of being. Every time you eat lettuce, every time you eat a salad, your body's immune chemistry sparks up. So we have to be very, very conscious about what we're ingesting into our bodies. But we have an economy and we have a financial system that depends on us eating. The number one health challenge, the number one health problem that human beings have in this country and around the world is food. And it's eating. And if you want to do one thing, George, to change the way, change the direction of your health, it's to eat less food. It's as simple as that, really. Every time you eat something, your body goes into an alert mode, and over the course of time, it ends up not only creating disease, but ultimately creating shortened lifespan.
I had a story yesterday that you must hydrate yourself or you're in a big trouble.
Yes, absolutely. And here's the thing about hydration. You know, a lot of people know about hydration. You know, it's important to drink water. But what they don't realize is that when you drink water, George, you urinate out your water-soluble nutrients. This is why the Beyond Tangy Tangerine I consider to be the single most important nutritional supplement anybody could take, because it's concentrated nutrients that are lost when you urinate following hydration. So yes, hydration is important, but replacing your electrolytes, replacing your B vitamins, replacing your vitamin C is critical, because the more you drink, the more you lose those nutrients.
Are you finding, Ben, that more younger people are getting sicker than adults did at that age a long time ago?
Yeah, it's unfortunate. You know, there's a part of your body that is responsible for draining out toxicity. It's called your lymphatic system. And this lymphatic system that drains out toxicity depends on movements. So, you know, you ever hear people say, oh, my grandfather smoked a pack of cigarettes and he didn't, you know, he ate bacon and lard and he didn't pay attention to his nutrition, but he lived to be 100 years old, or he lived to be 90 years old.
Or he smoked like crazy.
Right. But what they don't tell you is your grandfather, your great-grandfather, was farming. He was chopping wood. He was walking. He wasn't sedentary. He was moving his body. He was moving his lymph. Today's our sedentary lifestyle, and kids today, unfortunately, aren't like kids when we were growing up, outside playing all the time. The lymphatic system becomes stagnated. And this is what accounts for disease, and this is what accounts for disease at an earlier and earlier age. On top of that, you've got the incentive to eat sugary foods, breakfast cereals. George, there's no worse food on the planet than a breakfast cereal. And yet we have kids who are eating these sugar-frosted flakes, and I saw a commercial for IHOP where they have these French toast things with ice cream on top of it for breakfast, and sugar, cherries, what do they call them, maraschino cherries on top of it for breakfast. This is what we're eating, and this is what kids are eating especially, and this is what accounts for a tremendous amount of our poor health, as well as, unfortunately, our shortened longevity. Did you read the article, by the way, about exercise and COVID?
I did.
Yeah, isn't that interesting?
I think it's critical.
Yes, absolutely, because what happens is you move that lymph, you drain out toxicity. And, George, what this really underscores is the simple little things that we can do to stay healthy. We have somehow been hypnotized into believing that health is complicated, that you have to somehow interact with a paradigm, a pharmacomedical paradigm that is going to keep you healthy. But when the reality is the body is designed to be healthy. Our body wants to be healthy. Every time you cut yourself, George, within a day or two, that cut heals. That healing is testimony to the healing powers that the body has. But you have to understand how to take care of it, and it's not complicated. Eat less food, supplement, make sure you're exercising, breathing correctly, drinking water. These are the simple little things that we can do to stay healthy. And that's what I made it my life's work to preach that gospel, the simple little things to stay healthy. You have.
Are people coming up to you saying, I heard you on Coast to Coast and things like that? You get a lot of that.
I just got the text today. I guess he must advertise or something. They said, hey, I want you to talk about fungal infections, this guy said. So we got to talk about that later.
Interesting. I have an email from Melanie in Jefferson County, Missouri. She wants to know if you ever heard of multiple system disorder, which includes speech trouble walking and falling, tremors in her arms. What's happening to her?
I love that term, multiple system disorder. Actually, they call MSA, multiple system atrophy. Multiple system atrophy or multiple system disorder, whatever you want to call it, means your body's falling apart. That's what it means. You know, I always do this joke when I do my presentations. I say there's only one disease. We got in the according to the World Health Organization, there's some 80,000 different diagnoses, right? I say there's not 80,000 different diagnoses. There's only one disease. It's called MBFA disease. My body is falling apart disease. That's the only disease there is.
Exactly.
Our body deteriorates. It breaks down. And it breaks down because of a lack of nutrition in combination with toxicity, and you add in the psychodynamic aspects, and that's what MSA is. The body is just breaking down. It's just deteriorating. So what do? Well, number one, you stop the toxicity from getting into the system. That's the food, mostly. And then number two, you put in nutrition. And let me tell you something, George. I'm a pharmacist, and I've been studying drugs for over 40 years now. There is not a single drug on planet Earth that can cure a disease. That's not what drugs do. Drugs are Band-Aids. And do you need a Band-Aid sometimes? Yes, you do need a Band-Aid sometimes. But you're not going to cure a disease like MSA or any other diagnosis with a drug. The only way to take care of a degenerative condition, which is what MSA is, and that's what most of our health challenges are, they're chronic degenerative diseases, is to stop the toxicity from getting in and put the good stuff in instead. And that's why I talk about nutritional supplementation so much. That's why I talk about food so much. That's why I talk about water and oxygen so much. And that's why I talk about being so careful with the foods that you eat.
Out of 10 people, how many do you think will have some kind of illness or ailment?
7 or 8. By the time they're in their 70s or 80s, say, 7 or 8.
What about 50s?
Probably 1 or 2. You've got that's what the statistics are. By the time somebody's 50 years old, the odds are really good that they'll have at least 1 or 2 degenerative diseases. By the time they're 70, they'll probably have multiple, 2 or 3 or 4. 70-year-old, the average typical 70-year-old person is on 2 or 3 prescription drugs or more, a minimum of 2 or 3 prescription drugs. There's a phenomena called polypharmacy. Have you ever heard of this? Polypharmacy.
No, I have not. No.
Where you're on multiple drugs. You know, when they do side effects and toxicity and adverse reaction studies on drugs, they don't do them on people who are taking multiple drugs. They do them on just one drug. But when you take multiple drugs, the odds of toxicities and adverse reactions increase exponentially. So we have people who are on multiple prescriptions, and physicians and practitioners who are practicing this art, I don't want to say it's an art, but this process of polypharmacy, where they put people on multiple medications. Listen, George, I know there's times you need medication, but if you're on a medication, your number one health challenge, your number one health goal should be to figure out how to wean yourself off of that drug with your doctor. You want him participating in it, but your goal should be to figure out how can I live my life without that drug. But we don't think that way. We have people who stay on prescription drugs their entire lives.
Ben Fuchs with us from criticalhealthnews.com. That's the website to go to. I like setting records, Ben, every time you're on. The toll-free number to call for assistance. There's a staff of people there taking notes to what Ben is saying, and they'll help you. 1-855-949-7234, 1-855-949-RADIO. Ben, when we come back after the break, I want to ask you about some pharmaceutical drugs, what you think about them, why people are on them, and why they should get off them or maybe not. And then, of course, we're going to take some calls early when we come back. So the phone lines are now open for pharmacist Ben Fuchs, and we'll take calls next hour with him as we talk about your health right here on criticalhealthnews.com. That's criticalhealthnews.com with pharmacist Ben Fuchs. We will be right back in a moment. And welcome back. George Norrie with pharmacist Ben Fuchs from criticalhealthnews.com. And again, the toll-free number to call for assistance, 1-855-949-7234, which is the same as 1-855-949-RADIO. Ben, in your career with Critical Health News as a spokesperson, and you were very involved with it, what has been the most satisfying thing for you?
The most satisfying thing and this is not even just not with Critical Health News, but just in my career, but especially with Critical Health News, is helping people understand how much power they have to address their health challenges using lifestyle strategies, using nutritional supplemental strategies, exercise strategies, hydration, all the things we talk about all the time. The power that we have is when you tell people and you show people what they can really do to reverse their diseases using supplementation and exercise and food and lifestyle strategies, it's so beautiful and it's so gratifying to see people get off their meds, to see people who have chronic pain all of a sudden not have it, and especially, I'm in the skin business, especially to see kids who have these horrible pimples and breakouts and acne on their skin completely disappear. I'm telling you, the reason I love the skin so much is because it is so responsive to changes that we make in our lifestyle. Now, that responsiveness that the skin manifests, it manifests all over the body. Arthritis can disappear, gut problems can disappear, heart disease can dramatically improve, osteoporosis, degenerative diseases of all kinds, but especially the skin. And so I'd have to say that the most gratifying thing for me is helping people understand their power, but especially with kids and skin diseases.
Back to the phones we go now. Let's go to Delbert, truck driving in Kansas. Welcome to the show. Hi, Delbert.
Hey, Delbert.
I got a question for you.
Okay, sir.
My wife, she's been on the nutrients now for about 4 years. And it was really doing good for her, but she's kept getting urinary tract infections and stuff like that.
Yep.
And once she got off of them for about the past 6 months, she hadn't had any. And she feels better in her urinary tract.
You're saying that when she was on nutritional supplements, she was getting urinary tract infections. She stopped supplementing. She doesn't get any urinary tract infections?
Right. She was on the tangy tangerine.
There's a possibility that she's a little bit too acidic, is what I would guess. I would suggest there's acid levels are measured by something called pH. You probably heard that term, pH.
pH levels.
When the pH gets too low, that can cause problems with burning and urinary tract infections. She may need a little bit of alkalinizing. Sounds like something that minerals would help with. I don't know if she was on the Ultimate Classic. I would stay off the Beyond Tangy Tangerine. I would get on the Ultimate Classic. That might do the trick for her. And also keep in mind, and this is also really interesting, the bacteria that affect the urinary tract also play a role in digestive health. So if she has any digestive health problems, this is true for anybody who gets urinary tract infections, the relationship between digestive health and the urinary tract is something that's really underappreciated. So if she has any digestive health issues, you may want to correct those as well. There's a lot of great longevity products, including the Daily Digest and the Nightly Essence, that can help with digestive health issues. Does she have a history of digestive problems, bloating, gas, anything like that?
Yes, she does.
Yeah, that's where I would be focusing on digestive health, eliminating problem foods, using things like the Nightly Essence from Longevity, the Daily Digest, and the Ultimate Enzymes, and switching from the Beyond Tangy Tangerine to the Ultimate Classic Minerals.
Thank you, Delbert. Good luck. What do you think of statin drugs?
That's a great question, George, because statin drugs have become like M&Ms. They just get routinely dispensed, and that's because they're relatively benign in terms of toxicity. However, what they do is they stop the body from making its most important molecule, and I want everybody out there to understand this. cholesterol is the body's most important molecule. And if you wanted to destroy the health of a culture, you could do there's very few things that you could do that would be more effective than to stop the population's body from making this incredibly important molecule. Cholesterol is important for building. Cholesterol is important for stress management. Cholesterol is important for brain and neural health. Cholesterol is important for the immune system. Cholesterol is the difference between an animal and a plant. And all of the things that make us not a plant and make us an animal, that is our ability to ambulate and walk around, our ability to think and have neurology, depend on cholesterol. And it is the absolute stupidest, dumbest biochemical strategy to shut down the production of cholesterol. And in the future, when they study medicine in the 20th and 21st century, they will think that we were the craziest, stupidest people in the world to think that by eliminating cholesterol, you could somehow improve health. Now, the fact of the matter is that cholesterol levels go up when we eat sugar. Cholesterol is a building molecule, and by eating sugar, what happens is we trick the body into thinking it's supposed to be building. So eating sugar elevates cholesterol, and instead of eliminating the sugar, what we do is we poison the cholesterol-making machinery. That doesn't even include the fact that when you take statin drugs, you stop the body from making another important molecule called coenzyme Q10, which I know you've heard of.
That's critical.
It's critical, exactly. It is. While statin drugs are, as far as drugs go, they're worse drugs, but the mechanism, the concept, the theory of trying to get the body healthier by lowering cholesterol is absolute stupidity from a biochemical standpoint.
Tom, you've got a text and tweet for Ben. What do you have?
Hey, Ben, Kara from Oklahoma says, please have Ben Fuchs talk about sciatica and the best treatments for it, and will it go away?
That's a great question.
She says, will it go away at the end?
And let me just add this about statin drugs, George. Niacin is nature's natural statin drug.
Yep, you're right.
Right? So if you're on a statin drug, get yourself on niacin. Tell your doctor you want to wean yourself off your statin drug. Now, sciatica, I don't know if you ever had sciatica, but that is a miserable, miserable condition. And basically, it's an inflammatory condition that's caused by how we walk and how we eat. So the first thing you want to do with sciatica is you want to start getting some body work. I love rolfing, massage, chiropractic manipulation. All that can be very valuable. As far as the biochemical aspects of it, nature's aspirin, just like niacin is nature's statin drug, essential fatty acids are nature's aspirin. The ultimate EFAs are the most powerful nutritional anti-inflammatories you could ever take. And essential fatty acid deficiency is probably the most common of all our nutritional deficiencies because they're very hard to get from food, the essential fatty acids. So if you're not supplementing with your ultimate EFAs, the chances are pretty good you're going to be deficient. The ultimate EFAs are natural pain relievers because they're nature's aspirin. The mechanism of aspirin works the same way that essential fatty acids do without any toxicity. So I'd be getting on the ultimate EFAs. I'd also be using ultimate enzymes. That's another really interesting aspect of the multifunctionality of nutrition. Do you know digestive enzymes, George, are anti-pain, and they will actually help accelerate healing from surgical procedures, and they're natural blood thinners. This is why I love nutritional supplementation so much. Imagine if you could take a drug that had no toxicity. It would help you digest your food. It would help your blood circulation, help improve blood circulation. It had anti-inflammatory and anti-pain properties. You would want to buy stock in that drug company that was putting out a drug like that, right? Well, that's what the ultimate enzymes are. They're natural pain relievers. They're natural anti-inflammatories. They're natural blood thinners that help improve blood circulation. And on top of everything else, they help you digest your food.
Let's go to Joe, Long Island, New York. Hi, Joseph. Go ahead.
Yeah, hi, Ben. Happy New Year. You know, I just read this dystopian novel, the audio book, The Zoo by James Patterson. At the end, he has an epilogue, and they say 3 characteristics of mankind, and one of them was stupid. But my question is about 2 supplements, resveratrol and L-carnosine. I know there's a lot of things each of them do, but each of them gets touted for reversing aging somewhat.
Well,
wanted to ask you about that.
Yeah, they're both great supplements. Now, I think you said L-carnosine. There's carnosine, which is not L-carnosine.
It's carnitine, right?
Yeah, those are different. Carnosine is a very, very interesting and very underappreciated supplement that helps your body process sugar. But carnitine is one of my all-time favorite supplements, L-carnitine, and that helps the body process fats. When one of the ways the body gets energy is by turning fat into energy, just like a car turns oil into energy. Well, your body does the same thing with fat, but it depends on carnitine. And the two organs that are most especially dependent on this fat-derived energy are the heart and the brain. And carnitine is tremendously valuable for people who have any kind of heart failure, any kind of heart health issues, or folks who have Alzheimer's disease or dementias, or even people who are starting to just lose their cognitive functioning as they get older. So carnitine is fabulously important for the fat system of the body. It also has weight loss properties as well, and bodybuilders love carnitine. And then the second one, resveratrol, is very fascinating. That is a type of a molecule that has stress management effects. You know, plant molecules are generally not used, a lot of plant molecules, they call them phytonutrients, are generally not used for biochemistry to make chemical reactions happen in the body. They're protective. We call them adaptogens. They help the body adapt, and mostly they help the body adapt to stress. So resveratrol is in that class. It's an adaptogen that helps the body adapt to stresses. So by helping the body adapt to stresses, it can have some longevity-inducing and some accelerated aging reversing effects. And that's probably where you're hearing about resveratrol. Resveratrol is a little bit pricey, and that's one of the downsides of resveratrol. Carnitine doesn't have it's somewhat pricey as well, but it's not as pricey as resveratrol. The best source of resveratrol, if you want to get some resveratrol into your system, is drink a little wine every day.
That's right. Absolutely. Are you familiar with the supplement GABA?
Oh, man, am I familiar with GABA? Heck yes, I am.
Is this a relatively new supplement?
No. Let me tell you about GABA. Holy moly. This is a fabulous, fabulous supplement. It's used by the brain to relax you. But let me tell you something. GABA stands for, the acronym GABA stands for gamma-amino butyric acid. Butyric acid is found in butter. That's where we get the name butter. Butyric acid, the word butter is a acknowledgement of the butyric acid. Butyric acid has some amazing health benefits, and GABA is a derivative of butyric acid. It helps relax you. It helps make you happy. It helps induce satiety. And if you've heard of the ketogenic diet, obviously you've heard of the ketogenic diet, one of the benefits of the ketogenic diet is it helps you make GABA. It helps you make butyric acid. In fact, there's actually a drug that people take when they have fibromyalgia. You may have heard of this, called gabapentin. Have you heard of this?
Yep.
Gabapentin is just a pharmaceutical knockoff of GABA. So if you're on Lyrica because you have fibromyalgia, or if you're on gabapentin because you have some kind of chronic pain, that's what they use it for, get yourself on GABA. Use the ketogenic diet to help your body make butyric acid. And, oh, by the way, butyric acid is one of the most powerful supplements to protect yourself from colon cancer. Butyric acid is used by the cells of the colon as a source of energy. So using GABA or making sure you're on the ketogenic diet, eating butter, these are all making sure that you're taking the nightly essence from longevity, the probiotics in the nightly essence help you make this butyric acid. These are all great ways to make GABA, to make butyric acid, to protect your body from, protect your intestines from colon cancer, as well as to protect your brain from, or to support brain health and to help you sleep on top of everything else.
Interesting. West of the Rockies, David's with us, Carlsbad, California. Hey, Davey, go ahead.
Hey, Davey.
Hey, how you doing, guys?
Good.
I'm just up the road about 20 minutes from your regular caller, Tom in La Jolla. I've had an industrial exposure back in 2008 from a restaurant for asbestos.
Oh, Joe.
When they were doing a remodel. Currently, I'm on the daily asthma medication. I'm not sure if I should mention the name, but either way, I prefer a natural solution. I'm currently taking Tangy Tangerine and Ultimate EFA Plus, probably a little bit sporadically now, but I've taken it pretty regularly before and tried it with magnesium and selenium, and nothing is really working so far to eradicate it. And I know asbestos is unique, and that the body can't eradicate it from your lungs. It encapsulates it inside your lungs. So I'm wondering if there's anything I might be missing, in your opinion, Ben.
I'm sorry, I didn't understand what you were saying. What you said was being encapsulated. What's the toxin? Is it a heavy metal?
Well, it's asbestos from a restaurant remodel, and it got into my lungs one day when they were doing the.
You want to make sure that you're using antioxidants for the lungs, vitamin E, and acetylcysteine. Did you say you were on selenium?
Yeah, I've tried selenium, but nothing so far that I've done has worked. I've done magnesium, selenium,
and vitamin E.
Vitamin E, am I doing it, I guess, taking it in pills?
Yes, absolutely. Vitamin E and vitamin C. And here's another thing that you want to do, and you should start doing this right away. You want to start practicing deep breathing exercises. Either do Wim Hof breathing or holotropic breathing, anything that you could do to exercise your lungs. And that can also help expel some of that asbestos, too. So I'd be focusing on respiratory health by breathing, and also by, if you want to use nutritional supplements, vitamin E, vitamin C.
Are they little fibers, Ben, that get in the lungs?
Yes, and they get encapsulated, and they get the body tries to protect itself.
You can get lung cancer that way.
Absolutely. It's really important that you start working on respiratory health. And George, one of the most important things you could do for respiratory health is breathe. We think we know how to breathe. We don't know how to breathe. Not only do we not know how to breathe, but when we're under duress, our respiratory system, our breathing becomes shallow. Our respiratory system becomes weak. So we have to practice breathing. And I've been talking about this for years. Get yourself an app called Breathing Zone, and that helps you, kind of walks you through the breathing process. Or do Wim Hof breathing. You know, last time we were on the program, we talked about Wim Hof breathing.
That's right.
That's a great breathing strategy, just for energy. So much of our depression and fatigue and just not feeling alive is because we're not breathing.
Ben, we're going to take a break. We'll come back and take another hour of phone calls with our incredible audience on Coast to Coast. Another hour to go of phone calls with pharmacist Ben Fuchs from criticalhealthnews.com. So make sure you're part of the program. Those of you who have been on hold from last half hour, just hang there. We'll do our best to get to you quickly. And welcome back to Coast. Pharmacist Ben Fuchs with us from criticalhealthnews.com. Once again, Ben, thank you for helping us out with the incredible information you and Doc provide our listeners.
While changing lives.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do. You ready for some more calls?
Yes, sir.
Maria in Illinois gets us started. Hello, Maria.
Hey, Maria.
Hi, thank you very much for taking my call.
Sure.
I had a couple of questions. One was for my dog, and then another one was really important. So I'll start it with the one for me first, and then the dog. So like in the last 5 months, I've noticed I never had this problem before, but in the last 5 months, I've been having this really painful locking of my joints and really painful pain in my right elbow, but like my joints, my fingers lock really bad, and I like literally have to take one hand and like physically, manually pry my fingers because they curl up.
Got it.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep, that's called tetany. That's not uncommon as we get older, although it sounds like your condition sounds pretty dramatic. A couple things you want to do. First of all, one of the things that happens when our body becomes acidic is we go into this condition called tetany. And so one of the most important things you could do is oxygenate to alkalinize your body. That's where the breathing comes in. So I'd be practicing slow, deep breathing exercises, making sure you're getting enough oxygen and blowing off carbon dioxide to alkalinize your body. You may also want to try a small amount of sodium bicarbonate, baking soda, a teaspoon of baking soda in water, and drinking that quarter teaspoonful of baking soda in water, and drinking that down, not with meals, but after meals. You don't want to neutralize your stomach acid. And that may help alkalinize you a little bit as well. Between oxygen and the sodium bicarb, that can raise your pH, and that can help. Secondly, you need some WD-40, nutritional WD-40, and that's your ultimate essential fatty acids. And I'd be doing 9 to 12 capsules a day. If you notice that you have digestive problems, or you get gassy or bloaty or just feel uncomfortable, after you take your essential fatty acids, that's a sign that you're not absorbing your fats, and that could be happening as well. in which case you want to make sure that you're taking your ultimate EFAs with your ultimate enzymes, with a little bit of apple cider vinegar, and do it with meals. So you're making sure you're absorbing your fats. Between the WD-40, that is the ultimate EFAs, and the absorption aids, and making sure that you're raising your pH, alkalinizing your body through oxygenation, as well as a little bit of sodium bicarbonate in water, you may notice some relief. Also, you should start doing some stretching exercises to kind of force your fingers and your extremities to stretch out. As we age, we contract. The shriveling accounts for a lot of health misery and a lot of pain. And that's basically what it sounds like, what you're going through, a combination of tetany and shriveling. So making sure that you're alkalinizing and making sure that you're using your WD-40, that is your ultimate essential fatty acids. That's what I suggest for you.
And Maria, what is your question for your dog?
Well, he's really elderly. He's 18 years old, but
that's a long time.
But he's lost pretty much most of his muscle. I mean, in his back hind legs.
Don't feed him regular dog food. Are you feeding him? What's he eating?
Well, I did have him on like the prescription dog food.
High protein?
No, it was the prescription dog food IED low fat for pancreatitis, but the last time he had blood work, which was last fall, they said he didn't really have pancreatitis anymore. So they said that, I could feed him, a little bit more because, like regular food, just because the prescription dog food was so expensive.
I don't know a lot about dogs, but I can tell you that
we need Doc for this one, Ben.
Doc is a vet. Doc, you need a guy. You need Doc. But I would be thinking that you need more. The animals, dogs are meat eaters. They need more protein, and the foods that dogs and cats eat these days, it's not really quality food. And there's a big problem with dog diabetes and cat diabetes. And also dog depression and cat depression, too. And a lot of that has to do with the foods that they're eating.
First-time caller Dave in Florida. Hey, David, go ahead.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Thank you, Dave.
I'll get to the point. 59, 185, 5'10". I got Yankee Tangerine 2.5 in front of me, plant minerals, and I received the glucogel and the Ultimate EFA, but it says I have a seafood allergy, so I'm like,
I'm sorry, say that again?
What do I do?
He's got a seafood allergy.
The seafood allergy, you'll have you probably should stay away from the glucogel caps. The glucogel caps are made with something called glucosamine, and the glucosamine is derived from shellfish. Now, it's not so much a seafood allergy as a shellfish allergy. So it's not, those are two different kinds of allergic reactions. Some people are allergic to shrimp and lobster, shellfish, and other people are allergic to fish. Those are seafood allergies. So if you have a seafood allergy, that's not an issue. But if you have a shellfish allergy, then the glucogel caps are probably best avoided.
I have a fish allergy.
Yeah, then you shouldn't have a problem with that.
Well, what about the Ultimate EFAs?
The Ultimate EFAs, one of the Ultimate EFAs contains something that's derived from fish called DHA and EPA. Those are derived from fish.
Those are fish oils, right?
Yes, from fish oils. So you may not have a problem. You could check it out. If you do have an allergic reaction to it, it's not going to be like it's a fatal allergic reaction. You're just not going to feel good. So it's worth a shot.
Could I put a little on my tongue?
What's that?
Could I put a little bit of?
Yeah, you can put a little bit on your tongue, absolutely. And it's not like it's going to be a fatal allergic reaction. You're just not going to feel good. So, but it's well worth it if you can take it. I'm telling you, the Ultimate EFAs are life transforming for people who have never taken essential fatty acids before, because essential fatty acids are so fundamental. Say that again, sir?
I constantly feel like I have a little sciatica in my right calf, and I feel like I'm kind of shrinking, and my neck is always stiff in it.
Yeah, that's what happens as we get older. The WD-40, I'm telling you, the Ultimate EFAs are WD-40 for the joints. Not to mention,
anything else you can recommend that I'm missing from longevity?
I don't know what kind of health challenges you're dealing with, but the Healthy Start Pack covers all of your bases. By the way.
And have them call that number.
And you can also, of course, call Critical Health News, and they can help you, too. We were talking about the Ultimate EFAs. For folks who are out in the sun, the Ultimate EFAs are one of the best ways to protect your skin from wrinkles and from burning.
Interesting. Here's that number, David, 1-855-949-7234. They'll take the time to really talk with you. Text and tweets. Tom, what do you have for Ben?
Ben, this is from Gerard in Boca Raton. He says, is baby oil good for your skin, and especially what's good for your lips?
Baby oil is definitely not good for your skin, although it's not necessarily terrible for your skin, but it doesn't have any nutritional value. If you want to put an oil on your skin, take a pen and put it in your Ultimate EFAs and use essential fatty acids on your skin. But it's still not a good idea to put oil on your skin because the reaction with the sun is going to cause the oils to oxidize and it will cause your skin to burn. So it's not a good idea to put oil on your skin in general. As far as the dry lips go, the same thing that you want to use for your skin, for dry skin, assuming that's why he's using baby oil, will help your lips, and that is the Ultimate EFAs and vitamin A. Ultimate EFAs and vitamin A are nature's natural moisturizers, skin moisturizers, and both of those nutrients are highly deficient in the standard American diet, the so-called SAD or SAD. So if you have dry lips and also, by the way, dry eyes and dry skin, think Ultimate EFAs and think vitamin A.
How about hyaluronic acid? I got to always bring that up.
You could not let a show go by without saying hyaluronic acid. Yes, hyaluronic acid is a moisturizer in the sense that it holds on to water. So for folks who are dealing with arthritis or joint issues, or for folks who are dealing with dry skin issues or dry eye issues, or for women as they get older, their private parts start to get dry, hyaluronic acid can be very effective, absolutely.
Let's go to Todd, Bellevue, Washington. Thanks, Todd. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Norrie. Happy 20 years, okay? And Dr. Fuchs, pharmacist Fuchs, I would like to ask you, now I'm taking Tangerine and the Sweeties product, and I would like to just throw out quickly a couple theme songs for you guys. Tangerine by Led Zeppelin and the song Gloria by Laura Branigan, where she says, will you marry for the money or will you catch him on the rebound? Okay, now my question is, in conjunction with other products, now everybody has a product line. Anthony Robbins, Alex Jones, Alex Jones wants people to take his caveman, and, he's putting goji berries, and Dr. Gundry, who's Tony Robbins' physician, says, don't eat goji berries, and, Dr. Gundry has olive oil he wants you to buy, and from a special grove in Italy, Dr. Wallach says no oils. So,
it's very confusing, right?
Uh-huh.
I can totally relate to what you're saying, and that's why I do what I do, is to try to clear up this confusion. And it is very confusing. So basically what you want is the reason I love Youngevity's product line so much is because they focus on what they call the Mighty 90 essential nutrients. The Mighty 90 essential nutrients are the vitamins, the minerals, the essential fatty acids, and the amino acids that are the basics for everybody. Every human being needs the Mighty 90 essential nutrients. The word essential means you have to have it. Now, all these other things that you're talking about, they may be good, they may be bad, I don't know the specifics, but they're extraneous. They're extra. They're the icing on the cake. The Mighty 90 essential nutrients, that's the cake. That's the eggs and the flour and the butter that makes the cake. Everything else is the icing on the cake. You got to have a cake first, and that's the Mighty 90 essential nutrients. That's what Youngevity is all about, and this is why Youngevity's been around for 35 years now, or even more maybe. The reason it's been around for so long is because they're providing people with the basics, nothing fancy. Yeah, they have some fancy products, that's true, some fancy formulations, but the core of the Youngevity offering is the Mighty 90 essential nutrients that everybody needs. If you want to go use these other things, that's great, but make sure you're getting the basics, the Mighty 90 essential nutrients, and that's all in the Healthy Start Pack.
What I really like, too, about them, Ben, is their service. They actually care about you as an individual.
Yes. Everybody who works at Youngevity because we want to make a difference in the world. Youngevity attracts people like that. And by the way, if you're out there and you are that kind of person that likes to help people, that wants to be part of the nutritional supplement business, that has benefited from nutritional supplements or your family has benefited from nutritional supplements yourselves, this is an ideal business opportunity. You get to help people, you get to make money, you get to learn how nutrition works. It's a complete win-win-win business opportunity.
And you get your vitamins at wholesale.
And you get the wholesale price, right.
Can't beat that. Mary in New Jersey. Hi, Mary. Go ahead.
Hello, George. Hello, Ben. I have a question. 2 different years, 1987 and 2004. I'm going to ask. My mother went in the hospital, had her gallbladder taken out. They left all the stones. So she went to another hospital because they left the tube hanging out. They tried to crush all the stones, and she went to another hospital. They went down her throat to take them out. Was there a different way of handling that?
Absolutely.
And then in the year
absolutely.
in the year
First
2004.
of all, there's sound ways that they can use to break up stones. But the problem is the stone formation in the first place. What is it that causes stones? You can have stones, the gallbladder stones, obviously, but you can also have kidney stones.
Not enough water.
Well, that's one problem, absolutely. But basically, it's thick blood. And that one of the ways you can solve that problem is by water. But why does the blood get thick? The blood gets thick because of toxicity, George. In addition to lack of hydration, dehydration is a serious problem. Your point's very well taken. But we've developed toxicity in the blood. This is how we develop all our diseases. Not only stone formation, but also diseases in general are the end result of what's called toxemia, meaning toxic blood. Toxic blood is like, do you remember when the Erie Canal, or the Erie, was it Lake Erie that caught on fire in Cleveland? What was it? Or Lake Cayuga? It was one of the lakes or rivers in Cleveland that caught fire. Remember back in the 60s and 70s when the water was all polluted and it was all clogged?
It's always polluted.
Well, it's better now. In the 60s and 70s, it was pretty bad. That's how our bloodstreams get.
You could walk across it in those days.
Yeah, you can walk across it. George, we're hydrodynamic systems. We're fluid dynamic systems. Our health depends on our fluidity. And as we age and as the accumulation of toxins builds up in the system, our fluids become clogged. One of the signs of clogged fluids is stones, whether it's kidney stones or tear duct stones or gallstones. All of these are signs that the blood is becoming clogged and dirty. I call it dirty blood. And the cause of dirty blood, the direct cause of dirty blood, is toxicity that gets into the bloodstream through the intestine. This is why food is so important. This is why digestive health supplements like probiotics and fiber are so darn important. And this is why making sure that you're eating less food is so important.
Well done. Next up, let's go to Warren in Marion, Texas. Take it away. Hi, Warren. Thanks for calling.
How you doing? Thank you for taking my call.
Sure thing.
I've got several issues. I want to know if everything is tied into one thing. I've got ringing of the ears.
Yeah.
I've got burning sensations across my shoulder, my lower back, behind my leg. My left leg has tingling in it.
Yeah.
And I've had 4 stents put in me. I've got COPD. And is something causing all these things?
Absolutely. Absolutely it is. How old are you? Can I ask you, sir?
I'm 65.
Okay. So do you have a history? I mean, I'm going to ask you, but I know the answer. Do you have a history of digestive health issues?
Not
absolutely.
No.
You have to. There's no way you can't. You have to have a history of digestive health issues.
If I do, I don't know it.
You might not know it, but you have to because your body's very, very toxic. And what happens we just talked about dirty blood. What happens when you have dirty blood is the body will attempt to clean the blood out by dumping the toxicity into the soft tissue of the bodies. The connective tissue and the soft tissue are the great dumping grounds of blood toxins. It's kind of like when I was a kid and my mom would tell me to clean up my room, I would shove everything under the bed, and then the room would be clean. The body does the same thing. It shoves everything under the bed, except the bed is the soft tissues of the body. And so it's impossible to have an accumulation of various breakdown and degenerative symptoms like you're describing without first having toxicity in the bloodstream, which is then getting dumped out. Now, the tinnitus, the ringing of the ears, which is absolutely a god-awful condition, and my heart goes out to you, is also caused by toxicity that is leaking out of the blood and creating an inflammatory effect in the ears or in the inner ear. So you can observe the effects of lifestyle changes very quickly if you fast. And this is true for anybody who's dealing with a whole bunch of symptoms the way like you're describing. If you stop eating for a day or even 2 days, or if you can make it for 3 days, you will notice that you feel dramatically better. Now, you have to eat eventually, obviously, but when you eat again, start eating very carefully and notice when certain foods cause flare-ups. This is not just true for the gentleman we're talking to. This is true for anybody out there who's dealing with a whole bunch of different symptoms. You fast for 1 or 2 or even 3 days if you can, and you'll notice that most people notice their symptoms start to resolve. Now, then when you start eating again, you'll pay attention to what kind of foods cause flare-ups and then start eliminating those foods. Now, of course, you also want to make sure you're using your nightly essence and your ultimate enzymes from Youngevity. By the way, the ultimate enzymes from Youngevity are one of the best things you could do if you're dealing with an autoimmune disease, not only because of the pain relief, but because the ultimate enzymes can help break up proteins that can trigger these autoimmune symptoms. So making sure you're taking care of digestive health. Fasting is an incredible health strategy.
Ben, we're going to take a quick break and come back and take final calls with you. Pharmacist Ben Fuchs from criticalhealthnews.com. That's the website to go to for help and assistance. You can also email pharmacist Ben Fuchs and Doc Wallach that way as well. And that toll-free number, again, is 1-855-949-7234. More to come when we come back. Well, we've completed 20 years doing Coast to Coast, so next hour you're all invited to our 20-year anniversary party as we begin year 21. So come aboard. We've got 4 special guests through the night tonight who will be joining us, talking about their times on Coast to Coast. And what we're going to do also is open up the phone lines from the beginning of the hour into next hour, into the hour after that. We're not going to do it in segments. We're going to keep the lines open for the rest of the night for you to participate in the anniversary party. So I'll get ready for that next hour on Coast to Coast. And we're going to come back with pharmacist Ben Fuchs and take final calls in a moment. And welcome back to Coast. George Norrie with pharmacist Ben Fuchs. The website is criticalhealthnews.com. And again, the number to call where there are people there now taking notes, so you call them for help, 1-855-949-7234. Ben Fuchs, you do a great job, Ben. What's new for you on the horizon? Anything?
I'm doing a talk in my lab for folks who are in the Boulder area in my lab and pharmacy on the 14th. With my friend Dr. Taylor Mitchell, so check that you can get more information from Critical Health News. And I'm traveling around. I'll be in Vegas sometime here in the next week or two, going down to Mexico to do some talks, and then I'll be in New Jersey at the end of the month.
All right, let's go to Adam in Valencia, California, on the wild card line. Adam, take it away.
Hey, Adam.
Yeah. First of all, thank you, George, very much. I love your show and just. You're such a great guest and fantastic interviewer and have such fascinating people on. So thank you so much for that. And,
thank you, Adam.
Yeah, Ben, partly when I was calling tonight is because George did ask such a great question to you about why you do what you do. And you had mentioned about the gratification you get and just your passion for helping people with skin issues. And my daughter is a teenager who actually has, pretty extreme acne and has for a few years now. And it's just really, she's gone through a lot of the various medications that, are prescribed by dermatologists and tried natural ways and this and that, but altogether just not having good results. And so I was just inspired to call and kind of on her behalf and see what your thoughts are on ways to maybe help with that.
I'm so glad you called. Acne can be so debilitating. It can be psychologically scarring for the rest of a child.
Well, and embarrassing for the kid.
Embarrassing. It can have long-term effects. It's not life-threatening, obviously, but number one, it can be psychologically debilitating, and number two, if you don't correct the problems, it can get worse as the child gets older and as the child gets into adulthood. So the most important thing to understand about acne is not all lesions on the face represent the disease acne. And the reason this is important because there's a lot of kids out there who are getting treated with acne topical products like benzoyl peroxide and Retin-A, and even on prescription drugs like Accutane and antibiotics, and they don't have acne because, unfortunately, the world of dermatology treats all breakouts on the face as acne. So the first thing you want to do, and the first thing I want to ask you, is where are the breakouts located on the child's face? What part of the face are they located on? The middle?
He's hung up. He's hung up.
Oh, he's already hung up. Okay. Yeah. So if he's listening, or anybody out there, you want to distinguish breakouts in the middle of the face, in what's called the T-zone area, from breakouts on the side of the face, in the cheek, from breakouts in the chin area and around the mouth. Those are 3 different types of breakouts, and they need to be treated in 3 different ways. Breakouts along the middle of the face, that's called androgenic. That means male hormone acne. Those need to be treated with things like vitamin A and zinc, especially. Those are the 2 most important nutrients. In fact, everybody should just be taking vitamin A and zinc. Youngevity's got a great product called the Ultimate Zinc and Zinc FX. You can get zinc is phenomenally important for the skin, along with a lot of other things.
And it beats off viruses too.
Immune system. Remember, you couldn't get zinc when that whole virus thing was happening. It was out of stock everywhere because people knew how important it was for the immune system. But it's incredibly important for the skin, especially for acne, and also vitamin A. Now, the ones on the side of the face, those are so tragic to me, George, because there are kids out there who are getting treated like they have the androgenic acne problem, when all they have is a food problem. Acne on the sides of the face, that is, I don't want to say acne, breakouts on the sides of the face, the cheek area especially, are a classic sign of food intolerances and sometimes food allergies. Gluten can be an issue, beans can be an issue, soy can be an issue, dairy can be an issue, eggs can be an issue. And the thing about this kind of acne, George, is as soon as you eliminate the food problem, the acne disappears or the lesions disappear. As soon as you eliminate the food problem, that also helps to get on the nightly essence and the ultimate enzymes and all the wonderful digestive support products that Youngevity has, the Daily Digest. But getting rid of the foods makes those lesions disappear. And there are kids who have gone their entire youth up until they're 18 or 19 before they realize, hey, every time I eat the pizza, I get the breakouts. So you can do so much good by getting kids to understand the relationship between the foods they eat and those breakouts on the sides of the face. Then there are the breakouts around the mouth area. Those breakouts around the mouth area, again, get treated like acne. It's called periorbital acne, technically. But those are digestive health issues that involve stomach acidity. And that means you need to start acidifying the contents of the stomach as you're eating meals. The Ultimate Enzymes will do that for you. Apple cider vinegar with your meals will do that as well. And then sometimes women will get breakouts along the sides of their face right around the time of the month, maybe the week before they get their periods or during. On the sides of the face, those can be treated with the Ultimate EFAs. Those are an estrogenic issue and an inflammatory issue, and using the Ultimate EFAs are wonderfully anti-inflammatory. Those are 4 different types of skin diseases, all of which unfortunately get treated the same way, and this accounts for a lot of dissatisfaction and a lot of failed protocols.
Next up, Thomas in La Jolla, California. Hi, Tom.
Hi, George. Happy 20 years.
Thank you, sir.
Ben Fuchs, thank you for your information that you give to Coast. My question is best practices recommended for avoiding colorectal cancer and colorectal malignancies. And I'm on Youngevity. I really like it. And but also I was wondering, is caloric restriction, like, say, eating 1 meal a day, not, tying up your internal organs with digesting food 24 hours a day?
You're so smart.
How important is that?
That's incredibly. George, your listeners are amazing.
Yes, they are.
That's exactly right, Tom. It really comes down to this. Do you want to spend your precious nutritional resources and biochemical resources digesting your food, or building muscle, or on brain function, or on growth and repair and anti-aging? It's really that simple. The choice is, do we want to spend our nutritional and biochemical resources on processing food or on living life? The less you eat, the longer you live. And one of the great strategies for practicing, as Tom pointed out, caloric restriction, is to pick a 4 or 5 hour period during the day when you're going to eat and don't eat other than that. So you say, I'm only going to eat between 12 and 4, or I'm only going to eat between 12 and 6. And the rest of that time is time not only that your body can conserve its precious resources, but caloric restriction does something else very interesting. It activates a process in the body called autophagy, or autophagy, some people say, which is basically self-cleaning. When we don't eat, when we don't have food in our digestive system, our body self-cleans, much like if you run your dishwasher without any dishes in it. It will self-clean. Or if you run a blender without any food in it, it'll self-clean. And that's what happens when you practice caloric restriction. Not only do you conserve your precious resources, nutritional and biochemical resources for anti-aging and growth and repair and all the fun stuff, but you also allow your body to have time to clean itself out. And then on top of everything else, as Tom pointed out, it's wonderful for the intestine because the less you put in your intestine, the healthier your intestine is going to be.
Let's go to Jeremy in North Dakota. Hello there, buddy. Go ahead.
Hey, Jeremy.
Hello, Ben. 19 years and 27 days ago, I was in a near-fatal auto accident. Immediately, I was in a coma for 2.5 months. I was told I had a severe traumatic brain injury. I was at a Walmart about 15 years ago waiting for the bus to come pick me up. And there was a man smoking a cigarette. And I had a thought that I used to like that, and I asked him to bum one. Well, he let me have one, and I noticed a great increase in sensation of the nerves in my left side.
Yeah.
Does nicotine have an impact on your...
It's not necessarily the nicotine, although nicotine does that. You know, nicotine is insect repellent. Nicotine, or not insect, it's a pesticide, nicotine. It's used to control pests. So nicotine is extremely, extremely toxic. If you were to eat the cigarettes that you smoke, you would die. The fact that we smoke them puts a little bit slower release nicotine, but if you eat that same amount of nicotine, it will kill you. So yes, nicotine's a problem. But really what you were experiencing was a lack of oxygen. What happens when you smoke cigarettes is the carbon monoxide from the burning replaces the oxygen, and your body goes through a hypoxic or a low oxygen state, and that can account for that inflammatory pain. So you're probably experiencing a lack of oxygen. Although the nicotine and the tar are horrible, there's very few things that you could do on a regular basis to destroy your health that are worse than smoking.
Final text and tweets. Tom, what do you have for Ben?
Hey, Ben from Nancy in Dallas. Please have Ben take us through a full, typical day and what he eats.
Oh, no.
There you go.
We don't have enough time.
Yeah, sometimes people ask that, but I don't feel comfortable telling you because I don't want people to think they should do what I do. Everybody has to have their own formula. We're all individuals, and there's biochemical specificities that need to be acknowledged and addressed within parameters. Everybody needs vitamin C. Everybody needs the mighty 90 essential nutrients. Everybody needs certain things. But after that, everybody has to have their own kind of recipe or formula. Personally, what I do, and again, this is me, and I'm not saying this is what everybody should do, is I do a smoothie every day with protein and egg and my essential fatty acids and a bunch of other nutrients. I try to do cruciferous vegetables every single day. And for protein, I'll usually do fish or some kind of seafood, and then once in a rare while, I'll do meat.
Good for you, Ben. Next up, we've got Bob, the Big Island of Hawaii. Hello, Robert. Go ahead.
Hey, Robert.
Hi, George. Happy anniversary.
Thank you.
I was wondering if you had any advice for someone with Parkinson's, because I have had Parkinson's for the last few years, and I'm on carbidopa levodopa.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. There's a lot of things you could do. First of all, you got to make sure that you're working on digestive health. I've been saying this for years, but now it's being proven in studies. If you understand biochemistry, you don't have to wait for studies. But now it's being proven with studies. There is an intimate, powerful connection between the digestive system, the gut, and Parkinson's disease. So working, and this is obvious to anybody who understands how the body's put together, but now there's studies, all kinds of studies that are verifying that. So you got to really work on food intolerances, food allergies, eliminating problem foods, and then getting on all the digestive support supplements, the ultimate enzymes, the nightly essence, the daily digest, all of the things we talked about today. Apple cider vinegar with meals helps activate the ultimate enzymes. And then it's very helpful to practice slow, deep breathing when you're getting those tremors. A lot of those tremors are due to a lack of oxygen at the local level, and making sure that you're oxygenating can help. And then activating the relaxation nervous system by getting in a warm bath can also help reduce the tremors of Parkinson's disease. Very few people, if folks have tremors, you should know that very few people will have tremors when they're taking a bath. And that's a very important point that people should be wondering about and asking about. And the reason is that when you're in a warm bath, your body's relaxation nervous system kicks in. Tremors are caused by contractions and activation of the stress nervous system.
Yeah, but do they come right back when you get out of the tub?
Yes, they will come back. But you can demonstrate how important it is to relax the body if you are dealing with any kind of shakiness or tremors or palsy issues.
Can you have tremors and not have Parkinson's disease?
Yeah, absolutely. There's all kinds of tremor conditions. It's basically a sign of acidity, lack of oxygen, and toxicity in the blood, in addition to an activation of the sympathetic or the stress nervous system.
Does it emanate from the brain?
It can emanate. It can emanate from the brain. That's what Parkinson's is, but it can also be local as well. It could be a lack of oxygen that's getting to the extremities or the local area that's experiencing the tremors.
Pharmacist Ben Fuchs with us. CriticalHealthNews.com. That's the website to go to. The phone number to call. You call them anytime you want. By the way, 1-855-949-7234. 1-855-949-RADIO. Yeah. And you can email Ben. And Ben, you do get back to people?
We love emails. Ben, you can email health@criticalhealthnews.com and just ask for Pharmacist Ben. Or also, you should also tell folks, George, if you want to be part of the Critical Health News team, make sure that you put that in your email as well, that you want to participate as part of the Critical Health News team and be a distributor.
Get your products wholesale that way.
And get your products wholesale and enjoy the tax benefits, too. There's tax write-offs that you can enjoy.
Well, that's pretty novel, Ben.
Yes, it's great.
I've
been doing it since 1998, George, 25
It's a long time. We will see you in 6 weeks, my friend.
Congratulations, George, on 20 years. You're doing such beautiful, beautiful work, and I'm a big fan.
Well, we're going to have some fun with the party, so listen in, okay?
I will be listening in. God bless. Take care.
All right. It's Pharmacist Ben Fuchs, CriticalHealthNews.com. He and Doc Wallach rotate every 3 weeks. So in 3 weeks, Doc Wallach will be back. In a moment, we begin our 20th anniversary party. You're invited, so come aboard and have some fun. Welcome to our 20th anniversary party. My gosh, we're now going for 21. Hard to believe. Wow. And before we really get going, I want to say a few things. First of all, none of this, and I mean none of this, would have been happening if it had not been for you, because you are the ones that have made this the number one rated late-night talk show in the country. You have kept it going. You have grown the affiliate base, and you have kept this program what it is when I took over 20 years ago. Thank you for everything you've done for us. And now, of course, none of this would have been possible for me had I not had this incredible staff behind me. And let me just rattle through some names for you. Our executive producer, Lisa Lyon, senior producer, Tom Danheiser, our other producer, Stephanie Smith, and then, of course, our operations manager, Dan Galanti, who runs the board for me on a regular basis. Very like me, very rarely takes time off. He's always around. And the webmaster, Lex Lonehood, and his staff of Sean Ladesseur. And then we've got the other backup people who help, Michael Cosio, Adam Thompson. These are backup technical people. The folks in the NOC are what we call the NOC, that controls the technical aspects of getting this into a satellite mode and off to the stations that we've been so fortunate to be on. And then our weekend and backup hosts and our talent, Ian Punnett, George Knapp, Richard Serrett, Lisa Garr, and Connie Willis. These are folks that have just kept us rolling and rolling. And without their help, we wouldn't have made it. When I took over this program 20-some years ago, we were at 433 affiliates. We're now at about 640, and it's just remarkable in this age of so much stuff. I mean, we podcast our program, and we've got a huge base there, too. The Coast Insider memberships continue to grow. But all of this is possible because of you. So in a moment, we're going to have 4 separate guests throughout the night. We're going to keep the phone lines open as of right now for you to make your call for the guest and to jump aboard and participate in our anniversary party. So get ready to celebrate in a moment on Coast to Coast AM. And welcome back to Coast. George Norrie with you, and thanks for joining us for our anniversary party. A couple of other people I wanted to mention, Tom's assistants, Gina Salvati and Donna Walker, who do a great job filling in on weekends and filling in when Tom is off doing his Beyond Belief programs with me and other duties that he has. Our first guest is someone who was with me for the entire 20 years of the program, and it was with Coast to Coast, even longer than that with Art Bell. Dannion Brinkley, a veteran of the United States Marine Corps, hoorah, a New York Times best-selling author and entrepreneur. He has been a hospice volunteer since the 1980s. He's been killed off 3 times, but keeps bouncing back. Dannion Brinkley on Coast to Coast. Hey, my friend, welcome to the program.
Hey, George, it's great. But let me be the first person to thank you, George, and everybody that helps, because if it wasn't you and Tommy and that whole staff coming together every night to explore so much stuff over the last 20 years and to open up people's minds and consciousness to all the variety of wonderment that makes this world and this life instead of the drudgery of politics and all the crap we see going on. So let me thank you and let me thank everybody who's a part of this, because watching all the things and all the people who've been on this show and to open tonight with Ben and natural ways and natural health care, getting people to pay attention to their health care, because the next move is going to be about everybody's health care as this stuff winds down. And so being George and being the producer and the producers who put together that opening show couldn't be better. So let me thank you for being you.
And I got to tell you, Dannion, that none of this would have been possible without guests like you, who have been a staple of the program for so many years. You've seen it all. You've seen it all.
Yeah, and I am a listener. You know, I've been on Coast to Coast for 29 years, and I've seen the growth and I've seen the difference that you bring. You know, I know all the people. I've been on every one of the people who guest host, but I see the difference that you bring. I remember the Zahi, when we got Zahi on the phone and was pinning him down about what was under the Sphinx. And then they discover the Osiris Tunnel, and now it kind of disappears. And then Graham Hancock and John Anthony West and Robert Bivall, and then Raymond and Hogan, and you look at all the people that's come through this show, and the amount of information that people take away, that they take away to think about, and think about 20 years ago about UFOs, whereas now, based on the information of the people that's been on this show consistently, there's no question that they are unidentified flying objects, and the fact that there are other life forms in the universe, that's literally a common knowledge among the people who listen to Coast to Coast. That becomes so important to everybody as we advance technologically, but holding on to the basic ideals and principles. Mine is always about death and hospice and palliative care. And you left out the Armed Forces Network, all those people who make sure that wherever you are in the world on the Armed Forces Network, they get a chance to hear this show. And I get a chance to hear from those people, George. Those are our people, the veteran out there and the people who take action on things and actionable information. So there's a lot to be very, very proud of in this 20 years.
Well, Dannion, a lot of it is worthwhile because of what you do and contribute to this program. You've seen it all, and I don't know where we would have been had you not come back from one of those 3 after-death experiences. I'm glad you're with us.
Well, it's a joy to live in these times. I mean, you know, if anybody who ever read Saved by the Light know we're in box 12, the final vision. This is the last of the visions that I had from the first near-death experience, and I watched literally the last 20 years or the last 45 years. I've just watched it unfold, and it's like I've seen it before. And so being able to come on this show and being able to contribute my point about death and how I look at end-of-life care, palliative care, hospice, and those programs, and then think about this, for 27 years, we have done the Veterans Program, and for 20 years, every 11/11, we have done a show about the veterans and their programs.
Yep.
And that goes everywhere, and that shows patriotism, it shows caring, it shows concern after the fact, as well as those who are on active duty. And look at the things that you have helped and Tommy have helped support that's not just talk on the radio at night, but actionable events that's taken place that's contributed to the quality of the life of veterans as well as everybody else who listens to Coast, because I'm a person of the night, and I tune into these shows. So, everybody should be thankful.
Dannion also participates in some of our live stage shows that we do around the country and just knocks the audience out of their seats with his stuff. He's funny. He's onto it. And you love those live audiences like I do.
But, George, the greatest thing about those shows is you get a chance to see the people. And I laugh because, remember, we were in Washington or somewhere, and you get a chance to see the listeners, get a chance to see us, the people.
Yeah.
And you were looking at Ferengami suits to people who were like cavemen. They were mountain men. And I'd look out in that audience of 1,000 people and see how and who I get a chance to talk to, and they get a chance to see us. And I think it's a great idea. And if anybody gets a chance to come to one of those programs, to not miss it. And just like the Conscious Life Expo in February in L.A., it's like February the 10th. There, you guys are there. I'm going to be there, and so there is one more point. And then there's another thing about the other kinds of programs beyond belief that keep reaching out to people and giving them this kind of information, George. They can trust you. You do your homework. You're fast on your feet. You're very knowledgeable. You ask good questions, and you give that speaker a chance to tell their story and get a chance to get their information out. And that's the nature of the greatness of what you do.
Thank you, sir.
I'm really proud of you.
Don't forget to mention my singing.
Well, you know what? It's pretty amazing, everybody. It's pretty amazing the range he has, the songs that he sings, from Elvis in Vegas to Sinatra in Washington, and just as well, and putting on the costume that matches the song. People don't know that about you, George, but you can really sing, and you're good and tempo. And I think the great thing about what this show does is it gives people a chance who would never make the world scene or on modern day or everyday mainstream. It gives a chance. You bring on people who have great stories and great information that would never be heard of. They might have written a book that sold some, but all of a sudden they get millions of people to listen and attach to whatever their cause is, and then be able to participate. And the interactivity of Coast to Coast is what's so important. It's so important. And think about that we have been loyal members for 20 years.
Absolutely. Dannion, it's fantastic. Stay with us. We're going to take calls, and I want you to join me for the next few minutes here with folks. Our first caller is Jack in Long Beach, California. Hey, Jack, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you, George, and congratulations to you and your staff for the 20 years, going on 21. That's very commendable. I myself am celebrating 20 years on my job as well.
Good for you.
Congratulations.
Yes, thank you. And I was in the Navy just like you, George, and I was on the USS Carl Vinson, and I was in the Persian Gulf. And I want to just tell you that to thank you for your long-standing service in the military, and then also for your dedication on the show, because you get us through the overnights when we're going into work or, on the overnight shift. And it's everybody always at work asks me, when you first started the show back in 2003, they would say, was that Mr. Norrie that was hosting that show? And I would say yes. And then he brings a different aspect of levity and connectivity to the show, instead of some of the other hosts in the past would just say caller, let's go to the caller number one, but you would actually say the person's name and say, where they're from and relate to that person on an individual basis, and thus incorporating them in the show. And that really brings, like Dannion said, a point of connectivity.
Absolutely. Jack, thank you for being part of the program. Really appreciate it. And
thank you for your service, too, Jack.
Oh, my gosh. Our listeners are so amazing. I can't tell you how many times our guests, Dannion, have said and complimented us on the quality of the phone callers of our listeners. I mean, they're experts at what they do.
And not only are they experts, you bring out that connectivity. And just like Jack said, Jack is a part of the family that's coast to coast, just like me. We're part of the family, and that family has power. We just have to find causes that we support and get behind them. But health care is one of the most important causes that we could ever think about getting behind. And just like you have in Ben, and I would highly recommend, George, you look at allopathic, but you look at complementary and integrative therapies as a series of shows to do. Get Tommy to do a series of shows so that we out here, members of this family, can look at alternative ways to better improve our health care. I'm a big junkie about trace minerals, and I believe it's the basic trace minerals in my body is how I'm able to get up from the dead so often.
Absolutely.
I have a mission. So by keeping that alternative looking methods out there can only grow the show.
Let's go to Cornelius in Alexandria, Louisiana. Welcome to the show. Hello there, Cornelius, and happy birthday to you coming up in a couple days.
Yeah, it's tomorrow, so I'll be 62. Hey, Dannion, boy, it's good to hear you. I didn't know if you knew this, Dannion. I was a military police officer at Fort McClellan, where the MP base was in the chem school, but at the time, and it was 79 or 80 when I was there, I didn't know that the Marines sent their young men to the MP base after they did basic training and stuff.
No, that's where the P's went. Everybody was in the P's. I had a couple of run-ins with you guys, but you guys trained everybody, Cornelius. So, and happy birthday, man.
But look, I wanted to bring this up to you, George, and I'm going to tell you a good name for a book you need, because you gave me a book, Worker in the Light, George, and you need to come up with this title, Worker in the Night. That'll be your new book. That would be a great book, Worker in the Night, or something, Coasters, or something like that. But anyway, I hope everybody pray for Mr. Hamilton, that Bills player.
Absolutely.
Our prayers are powerful things and stuff. And I tell you, I saw that. It was just unbelievable. I've never seen anything like that on live football, just somebody just getting knocked and then having a heart attack. That was unbelievable. I want to bring up one more thing, George, before I get off the air. A friend of mine named John has a YouTube channel for me, and it's called Cornelius Lawson White.
All right.
I finally got a chance to talk to a guy that said that might be able to help me and stuff, named Chris Hodges, on Book TV this weekend on C-SPAN 2. And I hope and pray he can help me. George, one more thing. I was watching MSNBC, and they're going after Chris Ruddy, your Newsmax man. So please pray for Chris Ruddy. I tell you, Maury Albert's got the beat on MSNBC, and he's trying to get him mixed up with January 6th and everything, saying that he was a part of January 6th.
No, he was not.
Tell Chris to watch himself.
Yeah, he is. He's a smart guy. Cornelius, thanks. Coming up on just a couple minutes left, Dannion, I want to thank you for being on the program and many more years. I don't know if we can get another 20 out of this, but let's give it a shot, huh?
Well, I know I won't, but I can tell you what, it has been an absolute pleasure to be in your company and to spend 20 years with you and to be able to do shows and to be able to participate in everything that we, the people of the night, do. And I like everybody to listen to know that I love them and appreciate them very much, and I'm thankful for them. for supporting this kind of information and this kind of programming. And thank you and this entire staff. The work that I see and how 20 years I have been able to watch it, and like Jack said, Art was rough and tough, and he didn't push, he didn't believe anything, as opposed to you are open to information about it and absorbing of it, and that's the point of where we all grow interconnectivity.
And it's fun.
Shift in the difference.
All right, my friend. Be well, Dannion. Until next time, we're going to come back in just a moment with palm reader Vernon Mahabal, and he's going to be talking to us about his work on Coast to Coast and some of the amazing things that he has done. And we're going to keep the phone lines open, so those of you on hold, just hang where you are. And welcome back to Coast. George Norrie with you. Our next guest joining us for our 20th anniversary party, Vernon Mahabal, founder and director of the Palmistry Institute in Los Angeles. Back in 1979, he began formal training in Vedic cosmology, and that took him to India many times. He combines both Eastern and Western astrological disciplines into his practice, continues new research, particularly within the field of fingerprint biometrics as well. And Vernon, thank you for being such a great guest for us all these years.
Well, thank you, George. You're the one who's done such a great achievement. Actually, I was on the show in 2008 when you first became the host, I think.
All right, well, I became the host in 2003, but that was your first shot on the show.
Yeah, and I was sitting in my car one day thinking a couple years before or something like that, I'd love to get on Coast to Coast. And then all of a sudden Lisa Lyon calls and says, hey, would you like to be on Coast to Coast? And I almost crashed.
Well, she and I were talking about you before she booked you, and we're saying, so how are we going to handle a palm reader on a radio show? And we kicked around some ideas and figured this will work because this guy will talk about the indexes on fingers and everything. People will love it, and they do.
Palmistry is a very different type of discipline, and so a lot of people are not familiar with it. Of course, people who listen to your show now are, thank God, thanks to you. But George, you've done such an amazing achievement with your show. There's a whole family. I can't tell you how many times clients will tell me, oh, I feel part of the Coast to Coast family. I feel part of this greater community. People who are into metaphysics and spirituality and psychic stuff who sometimes don't have a lot of friends who are into this. The show is kind of like their lifeline, and it's because of you.
Well, it's also because of folks like you, and so stay around for a long time, Vernon. One of the sad parts of the program that we've been doing over 20 years, and we were counting them, that we have lost about 200 guests that have died over the last 20 years. I mean, it's just unbelievable.
Wow.
200.
Well, they're listening on the other side, George.
They're there. Let's chat and take some calls with our great listeners. Jeff in Ferguson, Missouri, who was one of the original listeners to the Nighthawk. Jeff, do you remember that song, Where Have All the Flowers Gone, I used to play?
Yeah, it's vaguely familiar.
Super. But welcome to the program, and thanks for sticking around with us so long.
Yeah, I just want to wish you and everyone working on the show happy 20th.
Oh, you're very welcome.
And I listened to your show in St. Louis, and then I just left it on for Art afterwards.
Yeah, you've been with us for well over 20 years, local and national.
Yep, so I felt like I had to take a shot calling in.
All right, my friend, you did it. Thanks, Jeff. Appreciate it. Next up, Barry in Rock Hill, South Carolina. There you go, old buddy.
I'm telling you, George, this is absolutely delightful. I was telling Tommy and Corny, of course. I knew he'd be on there for sure. But it's no kidding. I just want to echo what the rest of the guys and gals are saying, George, and that is that you are just so dynamite at keeping people glued to the radio. For heaven's sakes, this is the darndest a combination of people. It's 7 days a week, 365 a year, George. That's astounding.
And we got more to go, Barry.
I know it. And keep it up, George, and to all my buddies and girlfriends and boyfriends out there. You're keeping me alive, coast to coasters, and that's the honest truth.
Well, you promise you're going to stick around for us for a long time. Deal?
As a matter of fact, I think I told you last call, I have changed my mind completely. I'm going to be here as long as this world will put up with me.
Absolutely. Okay, we want to hear you on a regular basis. That's our friend Barry. We've helped a lot of people over the years, Vernon, who have been very depressed. And to me, that is probably one of the greatest things of this program. I mean, we've had people who were suicidal and turned them around, and they're still with us. And that makes it all worthwhile.
George, what also makes it worthwhile is that you yourself are an inspirational communicator. You know how to communicate with a warmth that just comes through the radio, and people feel that warmth. It's real. You connect with people. You know how to commune and connect with people and make people feel that you may be speaking to millions of listeners, but everybody in that audience is feeling that you're talking directly to them. And that's what sets you apart. And that's why this show is so amazing, because you are the inspiration. You are an inspirational communicator.
Well, let me let you in on a secret, Vernon. I am talking directly to them. And that's why it works.
Wow.
It's
amazing.
A simple technique, to be sure. Since you've been doing palmistry reading, you're also into intuitive things and stuff like that, too, aren't you?
I see myself as both a palmist, as an astrologer, and a psychic. Palmistry merges intuitive energy with astrology. So if you're reading a hand, you're picking up a lot of intuitive energies there. So it kind of it deepens the reading. You can read around the planets when you're looking at a hand. Plus, the interesting thing about reading a hand is that when you are looking at someone's palms, they feel connected with you. You're not just looking at, and nothing against astrology or anything, but you're not just looking at a bunch of symbols and Jupiter crouching into Mercury and that kind of stuff, not just a bunch of symbols. And you're actually getting all this information from their hands. So people feel a closeness and a connection with the information you're giving them. So it's a very special type of self-realization.
East of the Rockies, Cynthia's with us in Massachusetts. Hey, Cynthia.
Hi, dear.
Hi.
Thank you. I'm just trying to understand my life, and it's been very difficult, but I've been surviving, and I just want to get some enlightenment.
All right, Vernon, give her a little palm reading.
Do you have animals? Do you work with animals? Are you around
animals?
Animals are your thing.
Towards me.
They're the ones that give you enlightenment. Maybe even create a retreat for animals. You and animals are just amazing together. So work with animals. That's your thing.
Okay. What about my abilities in gathering strength spiritually?
Again, our four-legged friends are your key to you gaining enlivenment and upliftment. Give as much as you can to animals. They'll give as much as they can to you. Start a retreat or something bigger, and you'll feel happy. I'm telling you, animals are your thing. I see it in your hands, or I feel it in your hands.
Fantastic. Thanks, Cynthia. I appreciate it. Next up, let's go to Joe in the Bronx in New York, where it is 3:50 in the morning. Hey, Joseph, welcome.
Hey, George. Happy 20th anniversary and Happy New Year.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you for being with us all those years, too.
Oh, man. It's a great show. It always has been. And you bring, and je ne sais quoi, quality to the show. Everybody enjoys speaking with you, and you bring a certain magic to the show, which I always look forward to.
Well, you're very special. Thank you, Joe. You're a great caller, too.
Oh, I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
And you're a musician, too, aren't you?
Yes, I am. Yes, I am.
What do you play?
Well, I play some keyboards. I'm mostly a lyricist, though, and, so keyboards would be the instrument.
Cool. What were you saying, Vernon?
Keyboard. He's a natural keyboardist. He's great with. I'm seeing the organ. The organ is his instrument.
You ever play the organ, Joey?
The organ. No, not really. Only the keyboards.
Get into the organ. I'm seeing you do music like, let's say, not that they're my favorite band, but Emerson, Lake and Palmer, and that kind of stuff. You'll really enjoy that. But I'm feeling the organ, not so much just the piano, but it's the organ. Another thing you're great at is,
Thanks, Joe.
I'll have to look into that.
You're also a writer. Write a lot. Keep a journal.
That's great. Give us a quick refresher on palm reading, Vernon.
The soul, George. We are not our body. We're not our material body. We're just in it for a while. 80, 90, 100 years. This body is not ourself. It's just an outer dress. Who we really and truly are is a spiritual soul. We're eternal. In the Vedic literatures like Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, the soul is called Sat Chit Ananda. We are full of knowledge, eternal knowledge and awareness. We are eternal, and we're blissful. We're happy. We're naturally blissful and happy, and that soul resides within the core of our heart. And it's not just a ball of energy. We actually have a spiritual form. We could be a human or any kind of demigod or something. But that soul is situated within the innermost core of our heart, and it's, get this, George, 1/10,000th the size of a tip of a hair. That's how small the soul is. So if you take a piece of hair, you cut it into 100 pieces, and you cut one of those into 100 pieces, that's the size of the soul. Because when it comes into the material world, it shrinks out of just kind of like, what am I doing in this material world? So anyway, the soul does express itself through the agency of the hand. And when we look at all the lines, if we look at our hand, we'll see all the lines and the endless configurations and all kinds of configurations. And this is the soul speaking into the hand, like a computer printout. It's actually like a computer printout of the soul's journey in the material world. And it could express as much as, let's say, 20, 30, 40 lifetimes if you know where to look for, you see.
That's amazing.
So palmistry really is reading the soul's message emanating from the most inner core of our heart. And that's who we are. That's really who we are, the heart, George. And that's what you bring to people's lives, the heart. That's why you are so amazing at what you do, because you bring the heart. So I bet you many times when people do what they're doing and they're enjoying it, sometimes even the lines glow like a very, very subtle reddish color. So look at your hands when you're broadcasting, George, or anybody in the audience. Look at your hands when you're doing something you enjoy. You'll see the hands kind of like, if you can pick it up, some kind of energy coming from your hands. Sometimes even people can pick up that if they touch your hands, they feel an energy or a little bit of a glow to them. And that's when the soul is happy, when it's doing its passion. But that's really what palmistry is, George. It expresses what our passion is, what we're born to do, what we're here to do, in no uncertain terms.
Let's go to first-time caller Joe, truck driving in Ohio. Hey, John, let's get you in.
Hey, George. I just want to wish you a happy 20. I've been listening for over 10. That's when I was truck driving. I'll tell you something.
Thank you, sir.
You know, people do not probably fully realize, I didn't listen too much to Art because of my schedule, but to come in behind somebody and try to keep that momentum going and everything, and you've done probably a better job with all the shows you've done. And I I've been out here at nights, and I mean, you've listened to your show. You made me laugh. You made me cry with some of the sad stories with the people, and many times you scared the crap out of me with some of the supernatural stories. But I mean, I love it, and I just want everybody to know it's for you. Was it easy? And I mean, I know you were filling in and doing things, but when you actually took over the show, did you realize the full brunt of it, or was it easy for you, a transition, or was it kind of like a struggle to keep this thing going? Or
I don't want to say it was easy, but two things I think worked in my benefit. One was I've been a lifelong broadcaster, John, since I was 19 years old. That helped a lot. I've been a producer, I've been a manager, I've been a news director, I've been a reporter, I've done it all. And that helped me a lot. And the other thing is I was just myself. Simply just be yourself. I didn't try to put on any phony person or anybody that I wasn't, and it worked. Vernon, we're out of time, but I want to thank you. Let's book you for a full show, okay?
Would love to. Thank you, George.
Stay in touch with our folks, and Vernon Mahabal was one of a kind. Up next, remote viewer Paul Smith joins the party, and we'll be talking to Paul about remote viewing and also continue taking your calls as we celebrate our 20 anniversary years, now going on 21. Up next, author and remote viewer Paul Smith joins the party, along with your calls on Coast to Coast AM. And welcome back to our 20th anniversary party. Paul Smith joining the fun now. Paul is a retired Army intelligence officer, veteran of 7 years in the Stargate remote viewing program, the Psychic Spy program, president and chief operating instructor for the remote viewing instructional services. A couple of his books include The Essential Guide to Remote Viewing, Reading the Enemy's Mind. Paul, welcome back, my friend. How have you been?
I have been great, George, and it's really fun. 20 years, huh? That's pretty amazing. It just seems like yesterday.
Oh, I know. It really does. We were just chatting years ago, you and me, and you've been with us almost the full 20, haven't you?
Pretty much. I actually started back with Art Bell.
Well, then you're past that.
Yeah, but, you've been so much fun. I hardly remember Art anymore.
Yeah, it was a tragic thing. I was on the air the night he died, and we could not go with a story because I needed verification. I mean, I can't go with a death story until somebody verifies it of some official capacity. And we had our George Knapp, who's our weekend host, who lives in Las Vegas, check with the sheriff's department. And he confirmed that he had indeed passed on, and I had to pass it on to everybody. But
that was unfortunate.
Unbelievable, shocking. But how have you been, Paul?
I've been good, busy, but I'm always busy. My wife is getting tired of me being busy, but oh well. I hit 70 last year. I hit 70 last year. I'll turn 71 this year. And
it's the new 50 if you take care of yourself.
That's how I'm treating it.
Absolutely. Still doing a lot of remote viewing work?
Yeah, been doing, of course, classes, teaching a lot of people how to do it, and working on some research projects and various things like that. But yeah, it still is my central obsession. That's what I focus most of my attention on.
I'm still baffled, Paul, at why the government stopped the Stargate remote viewing program.
They had no imagination, They were. I think some people were afraid of it, and of course, as you know, anything goes on in the government is political. And there were people who supported it, and there were people who were opposed to it. And ultimately, the people who supported it either died or retired, and the people who opposed it were still left calling the shots. And I think that in fact, I know there's been lots of folks in the government ever since who have regretted that they did that. But it's really hard to bring back a project that you've killed and claim that you killed it because it didn't work.
Okay, so since you've been doing this and you've been training a lot of people, are you getting great students, Paul?
I've had some amazing students. I've had some students that are better than me. And of course, that's what you want as a teacher. You want your students to be better than you. And so that's made me very happy.
Well, we're going to take calls pretty soon, Paul, as we have our little anniversary bash coming up. And any events coming up for you, Paul?
I've got something happening in a couple of weeks. The Rhine Research Center, which is, of course, the oldest parapsychology research program in the United States, and one of the oldest in the world. I'm a board member, and I also am an instructor there. And I've been privileged to be the first live event since COVID for the Rhine Center. So I'm going to be out doing a workshop on-site in Durham, North Carolina, workshop on psychometry, and then a talk on neurotheology, which is an interesting thing. I don't know if we have time to go into that this time, but, it's going to be intriguing.
All right, let's take some calls. First-time caller, we're going to go to a fellow by the name of Doc Emmerich. If this is the Doc Emmerich, Michael, you're the greatest hockey announcer I've ever heard.
Oh, gee. Would that be because the Blues won in 19 or because Detroit won? Out here in Michigan.
I'm an old Detroit fan, my friend. Ran into Wayne Gretzky about a year ago, by the way. He moved to St. Louis.
Played there shortly, didn't he? Brief time with Mike Keenan there.
Absolutely.
I just called in to thank you for reaching this milestone, and I was so glad to hear that we're going to have you for another 5 milestones. I haven't heard anyone so patient with nervous people and kind to troubled people, and will even mention spiritual essentials like prayer. Not everybody does that. My time in broadcasting was in sports, and we had a recently passed representative named Ben Scully who always made everyone feel welcome with the phrase, pull up a chair, and that's what you're like. I'm a first-time caller and a long-time listener, especially now that I'm retired, and so I'm just calling to say thank you.
Ever run into my friend Bobby Costas, Doc?
Yes. We had the Winter Classic recently on Turner. I say we as viewers got to see it yesterday, and Boston won 2-1 over Pittsburgh, and I got to do that when it was held at Fenway Park the first time in 2010. And Bob, of course, was the one who NBC brought in to lend credibility to any event, and he hosted that event as well as the one in Buffalo for us. So, yes, whenever there was an event that needed a stamp that really added luster to it, Bob came in. And, of course, he was always the one that I relied on for any kind of authority on baseball. And one of the great moments that I ever had in my life was he invited me to go on with him to do a baseball game for my Pittsburgh Pirates against the Chicago Cubs on MLB Network. So, and it was one of the rare times the Pirates ever beat the Cubs. So I got a double dose of great excitement there. One of the best days in my life.
That's fantastic. How'd you get the nickname Doc?
It was not terribly creative. While I was trying to break into hockey announcing, I was at Bowling Green working on a PhD program because I thought I'd be a college teacher all my life. And then I finished the program with the help of a guy from Michigan that I'll bet you knew named Ernie Harwell.
Oh, yeah. He was one of the best.
And a great human being. And he was my non-academic advisor on my dissertation on baseball announcing. And so anyway, I graduated while I was riding buses doing minor league hockey games. And once I had the degree, why the nickname came and stuck. Not terribly creative, but it stuck.
I got to tell my old buddy Kelly Chase I had you on the program.
Oh, has Chaser ever dropped the gloves with you? I mean, he's dropped the gloves with almost everyone that's famous.
I'm one of the few he hasn't taken a swing at.
Okay. Well, if you had a coat on at the time, he'd try to pull it up over your head and land a couple.
I love it.
He's a good human being.
Doc, thanks for calling in.
God bless you. Great.
Doc Emmerich, Michael Emmerich, one of the greatest hockey announcers ever born. That's quite an honor. Paul, that's kind of cool, huh?
I'm bookended by two radio legends. That's just I'm flattered.
Let's go to Brian in Indiana. Take it away, Brian.
Hey, George. Good morning. How are you, sir?
Okay, my friend. Thank you.
Hey, happy 20th anniversary. Hey, and listen, you know, when you talk of I concur with everything that every caller has said tonight. Because when you speak to all of us, and I'm one of them, because I've been a Coast listener now for 14 years, and I asked somebody, hey, I'm going to go to night shift. What can I listen to? What kind of overnight radio is there? And that guy said, Coast to Coast AM, listen to it. And I've been hooked ever since. And on top of that, I've struck up a friendship with Tommy. And let me give you a little insight on remember the Columbus show you had with Stanton Friedman?
Okay.
When we set that stage, before we even got on stage, I was talking to him out in the hallway, and he was telling me, we were just small talking, and he was telling me that he goes, I need to start bringing more books because, man, I always sell out of books. He goes, I should know this, but I don't. And that was a good show, and it's a darn shame that what happened. But man, he was a world of knowledge.
Yeah,
sure.
Stanton Friedman died going to the airport after that show.
Yep.
Jeez.
Hey, Chris wanted me to tell you, hey, also. She goes, well, if you get through, I said, oh, don't you worry. I said, I'm in tune with the universe. I'm going to get through. But
You'll make
it's
it.
been a good run. And man, you guys are just awesome, man. I'll let some other people get in, and hi to all the Coach family, and y'all have a good one. Have a happy New Year.
You too, Brian. More to come, my friend. Next up, let's go to Edward in Tennessee. Hey, Edward, thanks for calling.
Hello, George. How are you, sir?
Wonderful. Thank you.
Good. Congratulations.
Thanks.
20 years. That's a long time, my friend.
It sure is. Goes by too fast, though. Wow.
Right? I'm starting to get up there in the years myself, and time absolutely does fly by. There's no doubt.
Thank you, sir.
The reason I'm calling in, George, I was actually on the air with you a couple of nights ago when you had Elizabeth on, and I was a little hesitant with my words, as I am now as well. I kind of got cut off. I thought I was going to say a little more to you. I don't really know how to go about it other than to say I have made the greatest discovery in the known history of mankind, and I'm ready to share it with the world, and it absolutely proves beyond doubt pretty much everything you cover on your show.
How'd you do this?
Well, I was conditioned 25 years ago with something I had came across then that, I've talked about that over the last 25 years, and always wanted to get my hands on what it is I speak of, and I never could, but it was a story I always like to tell. And if I hadn't have discovered what I did then it would have been no different than anyone else or any other time, per se, and I never would have seen and became aware of what I did. And since then, I have literally amassed countless artifacts from all over the world. And on top of that, thousands of images. And it positively proves everything. So much more than is even talked about.
Is it extraterrestrial, or is it related to this?
It is literally the history of this planet.
I got to tell you, Edward, one night I want you to call in on open lines so I can give you a bigger platform to talk a little bit more about how you made this discovery. That would be interesting. Paul, do a lot of people make these kinds of discoveries in remote viewing?
Well, not as big as that one sounds. Obviously, you make lots of little discoveries, little discoveries in comparison, although it's often used as a tool, not so much to find out esoteric things like things about UFOs, UAPs, whatever, but to actually find out useful information. Missing people has been used for that. Military secrets has been used for that. So it has a broad practical application as well, not just discovery, universal type discoveries.
Let's go to Amy in Buffalo, New York. Hello, Amy.
Hi, you are awesome. I love you. And it's my anniversary for listening to the show. It's only 2 years, but I never knew about it before.
Well, happy anniversary, Amy.
Happy anniversary.
10% of the
You
time.
do have
That's
a soothing
great.
voice, too. You're very sweet. But, and as you know, Buffalo, we're all hurting here right now, and that was just so awful. We're all stunned here. And, it's just really shocking. I hope he makes it through. I really do.
What'd you get, 6 feet of snow or something like that?
Oh my gosh, yeah, we did almost close to it. I'm right on the edge of Cheektowaga, which is, outside of Buffalo. But actually, like Buffalo and like the airport got hammered with close to 6 feet. It was insane, and it came down so fast. I'm 52. And I, was alive for 77, and I was alive for the surprise storm, which I don't know why they call it a surprise. Usually that's something that's good, not something that takes out 80% of our older trees. But
right.
It was really crazy. It was like being in a snow globe that just got shaken. You couldn't see in front of you. It just kept pouring down. And the wind was so strong. The wind actually blew my curtains away from my window. Right through the window.
While the window was closed. Wow.
Yes, while it was closed. It just came down so fast. You couldn't even look out the window. You couldn't see out the window. I don't ever remember that happening. Like, even with that one storm, we still could look out the window. It was straight for 2 days. It was not like on and off, no, straight for 2 days straight. And right for Christmas, it was a big bummer. And now, like I said, the player, oh my goodness, it's just so crazy. But I actually, want to say thank you for being on the air. You actually really gave me a lot of comfort with all the things that I know that happened to me that are odd. That I just feel like I'm not alone. I'm not crazy. I have a lot of dreams that are like prophetic or like I know things all the time, and I don't know how to control that. So I really wanted to ask you guys if he had any suggestions for me to kind of home tune those skills so I could actually use it for some good. I mean, seeing things that happen, a few minutes before they do, unless I can help somebody, what good is it?
Yeah, how do people use remote viewing? How could she use remote viewing for the betterment of her life, Paul?
Well, that takes a little bit of work, but actually I think our question is about her dreams, which I'm finding intriguing here. The first, very best tool for dealing with dreams that may be prophetic is to get them written down. Are you keeping a dream journal?
I'm not vigilant about it, though, so I should get back to it. I do have a book that I did that with.
Yeah, the beauty of a dream journal is that you then don't forget the content of your dream.
Right, it's right there for you.
Exactly. And then you can compare them, particularly if they're prophetic, you can compare them to things that events do happen then in the future, and you then have a database of evidence to show that your dreams really are meaningful, and that's a very important thing to establish.
All right, thanks, Amy. Hope everything works out for you. Let's go next to Joe in Olympia, Washington. Let's get you in here, Joseph. Go ahead.
Thank you. Hey, George, it's great to talk to you again.
You too, Joe.
Congratulations on 20 years. I wanted to call in and say thank you because your show got me through Iraq, and when I wrote a book about it, you let me read a poem from it on the show.
I remember that.
The world to me. I had an idea, and I know it's a little self-promoting, but I had an idea. What about an emerging authors portion of the show? I know you guys do bumper music with, emerging artists. Why not an emerging authors show?
Interesting. Interesting.
I just thought it might be an idea because I hope you enjoyed the book, and I will get off the air to let others on, but I really hope you enjoyed it.
Okay, my friend, I did. Paul, and I want to thank you for so many years of supporting our program as a guest in the past and as a guest in the present and the future.
I'm looking forward to that, and I'm happy to be helpful. You've been helpful to me. I look forward to actually getting together with you sometime in the hopefully not too distant future.
You're one of the good guys, Paul. We love you.
Well, thank you. I feel the same way about you, George.
Paul Smith, great books, by the way. Reading the Enemy's Mind is one of the best on remote viewing I have ever read. Up next, Karen Dahlman joins us. I call her Miss Ouija Board. I hate the Ouija board, but I like Karen. She's a nice person. But we're going to be talking with her and continuing our anniversary calls with you in a moment on Coast to Coast AM. So get ready for our final segment right here on Coast to Coast AM, our 20th anniversary. As we continue celebrating our 20th anniversary program, Karen Dahlman, our researcher of the paranormal, joins us next, along with the rest of your calls on Coast to Coast. On our next Coast to Coast program, John Hogue joins us for the first half, talking about the prophecies of Nostradamus and 2023. Don't miss that. And then Sarah Janes joins us to talk about the mystery of dreams on Coast to Coast. And welcome back to Coast. George Norrie with you. Karen Dahlman with us. Karen is an author, paranormal researcher, licensed counselor, spirit communicator, serves as an officer and director of the Talking Board Historical Society. She was born with the gifts of clairvoyance, clairaudience, clairsentience. Karen communicates with sentient beings in the unseen dimensions, uses these gifts with her clients, providing spiritual readings and guidance. And as a leading noted Ouija board practitioner, she's been using the Ouija board since 1973, and she gets astounding results. Welcome back, Karen.
Hey, George. Thanks for having me. And I got to say, congratulations to you. 20 years is a huge milestone, and I'm super proud of you. And also congratulations to the Coast crew. They do so much behind the scenes.
They are the best. I was wondering what it would be like if I was introducing you to our 40th anniversary party, and it would be something like, welcome in, Karen is with us. I'd be in my 90s.
Well, listen, this is an anniversary for me this year. I've been using the board for 50 years.
We talk a lot about you on this program. You know that.
I know.
And you're an enigma because you're a likable person, you're a friendly person, and you love the Ouija board, and nothing evil has ever happened to you with it. How come?
Yeah, absolutely not. I mean, I grew up using the board in 1973, as you said. I started then, but I was using it in a vacuum when there was no fears placed upon it by others. It was just accepted as something I could use to reach in the unseen dimensions. And I got to tell you, George, a lot of my focus this last decade has been really pushing the boundaries of consciousness on and off the board. And most importantly, I'm helping and teaching people and my clients how to connect with their higher selves. But I learned how to do that through the use of the board. And then I can take that work that I've learned, the insight I've gained, the clarity I've gained, and use it now with my clients so they can do the same work, whether it's on or off the board. So it's really a very positive experience for people.
Have you ever had a situation with the Ouija board that you thought, uh-oh, I may be in trouble here?
Absolutely not.
Never.
It's been nothing. No, it's been nothing but exciting and enlightening. You know, we've spoken about this many times. And I know it's because of my own beliefs and perceptions. You see, what we see and how we feel, how the world's going to be to us is often a projection of what we'll get when we do this kind of work. When we use some kind of tool that's outside of ourselves, such as a board or some kind of scrying device or even cards, we're relying on the tool too, but we're also projecting upon it our own filters of how we view the world. I don't see myself as a pawn in the world, and I teach my clients and I teach the people I work with in workshops to reconfigure the way they see themselves in the world. If they see themselves as being more empowered and responsible for their lives, they're going to get those kinds of energies attracted to them when they do this type of work.
Karen's website is linked up at coasttocoastam.com. She's got several books out there, too, as well. They're all listed on her website. And Karen, join us with some phone calls here in the waning moments of our anniversary party. Would you please? Let's go.
Absolutely.
Let's go to John in Kentucky to get us started. Welcome, John. Go ahead.
Happy anniversary, George.
Thank you,
to
John.
The president of the airwaves and to the frequencies that reach into the heavens of Father God. And we thank you, George, and bless you. And I want to mention the top of the show. What a professional you are. And thank you for the news. I don't even watch the local news no more, or the national. I just listen to you. Thank you, George, and bless you.
Thank you, John. I appreciate you being part of the program. How nice that was, Karen.
Well, you know, I was telling Tommy, this show is just so beautiful. I can feel the gratitude, the appreciation forming its own energetic bubble. And we here listening, as I've been listening to the whole show, can feel that energy. And there's nothing more important than expressing our gratitude and appreciation to somebody. So thank you, George. And I don't think I've told you this either. I have a big thank you to give you. I don't think I told you this, but what I'm going to tell you is when I first came out in the public with my work, because you know it's controversial,
yes,
your show and you were the first show that ever gave me my platform to speak about this openly. And your audience has been wonderful.
I remember. What a great audience, too. I mean, they make life so much easier. Rattles is with us in Alaska. Welcome to the show. Hello, Rattles.
Well, good afternoon, I should say good evening.
Yes, sir. How have you been? You good?
I'm good. You know, I want you. I've been listening to Coast ever since Art Bell ever started the program. You know, he started it up here in Alaska.
Way back.
Way back. And you don't believe in coincidence.
No, sir.
When I told you the other year about a little coincidence of me picking up roses out here along the road on my anniversary, and I was at the very end of the program, and I got cut off because the program stopped. Now, I want your opinion on this. I want your dead opinion on this.
All right.
I'm going to tell you something here that's pretty far out. I pulled my truck into my house one day. I come back from Fairbanks. I pulled into the house. I looked at my odometer. It's all on zeros, everything, right to the T, flat string across, all zeros. I let it sit there. I went in, stayed home. I went to bed that evening. The next morning, I heard my dogs barking. I had a team of sled dogs, right? And then I heard the dogs bark. I look out the window, and here I see Bob Bergen walking in my driveway. Now, he's one of my neighbors, and he lives 30 miles away.
Wow.
Right? And he's one of my neighbors. I lived at the last house on the left, and he lived 30 miles out from me, which was a big state recreational area in between us. That's why nobody lived there.
Right.
Well, he pulled in. He come walking in my driveway. And I was wondering why he didn't pull in. I come to the door and I answered the door. Well, hey, Bob, I said, where's your truck? Well, he said, it's out here at the end of your driveway. He goes, come out here. I want to show you something. So I go walking out there, the end of my driveway. He goes, look at my odometer. And it's all on zeros.
Just like yours.
And I said, hey, Bob, hey, come back into your house. I want to show you something. So we go walking by my truck and says, looking there at my odometer. And it's all on zeros. Now, what do you call that?
Weird. How about you, Karen?
I call that synchronicity. I don't believe in coincidences either. I think it's a way that you two connected on a greater, deeper spiritual level. This is happening all the time around for people right now. We're stepping into that in 2023, by the way, as well. You'll see more and more of that in people's lives.
I don't think there could be a malfunction which brings your odometers back to zero. I don't think.
Unless they reset it themselves, but he didn't say that.
No, I don't think he did that, and nor did his neighbor who lived 30 miles away.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. That's strange, Rattles. I mean, you can't explain the unexplained sometimes.
And we're not supposed to. But when we start noticing these things and ask the deeper questions, what does this make me feel? What does this bring up to my mind? And then you start connecting dots. Now, yeah, we can always try to make something out of something, but when you start seeing this in patterns over and over again, you start noticing how there's these connections, then you go, there's something really here. That's magic. That's real magic.
When you're using a Ouija board, how do you know that another person who's on the planchette with you isn't moving these on purpose? Can you tell?
Yeah, I can, and I'm also real selective who I work the tool with. If I'm training, most of that come to and pay money to come sit with me and train. They're not going to push it because they really want to learn to use it. Now, I'll push it on purpose and tell them I'm pushing it so they can feel it. But I can tell. You can tell it's like this jiggy like movement. I remember when I was a child, kids would do that. It just jigs around. It's really weird sensation. But people I use it now consistently, I have a trust in them. There's a relationship I've already established with them, and they're usually professionals in their industry themselves. Like they take their stuff seriously, and a lot of them end up being like psychics or mediums themselves.
East of the Rockies, AC's with us in Cleveland, Ohio. Hello, AC.
Hello, George, and I want to wish you and your staff a happy 20th, and for you and your staff and to your guests, that God would keep you in health and strength throughout this year. And I got to tell you something. Your song, Where Have All the Flowers Gone, woke me up, and I'm glad it did. I have rewritten that song. I'm an end-time prophecy Bible teacher, and I rewrote that song. And also, there's something in Christianity called the rapture. You may have heard about it.
Oh, absolutely.
Well, I rewrote the song reflecting lyrics, the lyrics reflecting the rapture. And it's actually written about a parable that Jesus gave on the 10 virgins, and it's called Where have all the wise virgins gone? And it's interesting also that the other night, about a week ago, the same thing happened, and you were playing another song from Peter, Paul, and Mary. 500 miles.
500 miles. Good memory there, AC. Good memory.
Yeah, and that woke me up, okay? Woke me up, and I couldn't get the song out of my mind, and within 24 hours, I rewrote the lyrics to that song also.
Now, by rewriting, what do you do with it? Do you publish them, or what do you do?
Well, I'm a co-host on a show called Understanding the Times here in the Cleveland area.
Okay.
And actually, last Wednesday, I rewrote the first stanza of Where Have All the Flowers Gone, and the co-host let me sing it on the air without any music. He played part of the song first, and then I couldn't get him the background music quick enough.
Why don't you sing the first stanza for us the way you've rewritten it?
On Where Have All the Flowers Gone?
Yeah. Do you remember it?
Yeah, I can put it together. Where has God's healing power gone? In most of today's churches, it's missing.
Oh, not bad. Good job. You put it to music, it sounds even better, Karen.
I think so too, George. And you're a singer. You
Oh,
can
yeah.
probably rewrite some songs and put your own words in there too.
I like the original words.
I do too. When you
Thanks,
played that
AC.
song tonight, it brought back some memories and thoughts from yesteryear. It was beautiful.
It's fun running these classic bumpers from the past, in different moods that you're in and stuff. And I get a lot of emails from people. And speaking of emails, folks, I want to thank the thousands of you who have emailed me congratulations on our 20th anniversary. I can't get back to all of you, but thank you so much. Appreciate that. Great listeners, Karen.
Oh, you have the best audience. Everybody that calls in and has comments or questions, I listen to the show. I'm actually a Coast Insider myself because I love hearing what the guests have to say and also the callers. I mean, they're very insightful, very intelligent, and bring up some great points. So it's always exciting to be a part of the Coast family.
Does the Ouija board tell you what's in store in 2023 for us?
Well, it's not the Ouija board telling me what's in store. It's me tapping into my spirit guides. And so I tapped into them, yes, and I do have some insight. And what I've gotten so far for 2023, I'll share a piece of this, is that they're talking about the ascension process, meaning consciousness, our own awareness of consciousness, expanding and allowing us to grow even more so. It's like our soul has an opportunity to really evolve quickly this next year. There's still going to be a lot of chaotic things, a lot of upheaval. But one thing that I'm telling my clients that I'm getting from spirit guides and from spirit is basically we can make a choice now. We can feel a lot more empowered in our lives. And that's what my mission now is, to really teach people to tap into their higher self, because that is your personal spirit guide, inner spirit guide built in, and to start letting that be your GPS to guide you in your life. And you can make a difference, and you can get through this time and be more empowered on the other side with it.
How many books have you got written now, Karen?
Well, I have 3 out, but George, I'm working on my 4th and 5th book. It'll be out later this year. I'm super excited about these because I am writing about consciousness and tapping into the consciousness of sentient beings.
Well, get yourself booked when those books are done, all right?
Sounds great, George. It's always a pleasure to be here with you.
Get you back on the show again. Karen, thanks so much. Stay safe, okay?
Thank you, and Happy New Year's to you and everybody out there listening.
That's Karen Dahlman. Her website is linked up at coasttocoastam.com. It's KarenADahlman.com. But we've got the link for you. We make it real easy. On our next Coast to Coast program, as I mentioned, John Hogue joins us to talk about the prophecies of Nostradamus and how it affects 2023. And then we're going to be talking about the mysteries of dreams right here on coasttocoastam.com for you. For Dan Galante, Tom Danheiser, Lisa Lyon, Lex Lonehood, Sean Ladisor, Stephanie Smith, Chris Boros, Tim Banal, George Knapp, and Ian Punnett. I'm George Norrie, somewhere out there on Coast to Coast AM. We'll see you on our next edition. Until then, be safe, everyone.